Alright guys, so for the first 4 minutes of our video, we lost all the audio, so we're going to voice it over. Hopefully it doesn't sound too bad. We did update our audio stuff, so hopefully it'll be better in future videos, so hopefully you can bear with us. Alright guys, so we're going to be installing a 4-inch lift kit on a 2007 Colorado. Skyjacker was nice enough to help us out with this lift kit. We optioned out for the leaf springs, which is a good add-on over the add-a leafs. When we first got the kit, it did come a little bit damaged. The drop brackets, powder coat was all chipped up, but they were nice enough to send us out another set. It did take about 4 months to get due to COVID, but overall it's a really nice kit and has some big benefits over the other options. So one of those options is that it keeps the torsion bars up and out of the way in the stock location using these brackets. It also comes with new heavy-duty spindles, driveline extensions, Bumpstop extensions, drop brackets, and a sway bar drop bracket, and it also comes with brake line. Alright, so the truck we're going to be installing it on is a 2007 Colorado. It's pretty clean overall. We did get it with a blown up motor, so there's no motor right now. We'll keep you updated on the build process on the channel, so stay tuned. These are the wheels and tires we'll be putting on. They are a 285 7017 Nitto Ridge Grappler and a Method 305. They're going to be replacing the stock wheels and tires that definitely need an update. Alright, so when you're taking off the torsion bars, you want to make sure to measure the amount of thread that is exposed. With the bolts that tighten down the torsion bars so you get them in the same spot. You want to measure from the top of that surface to the bolt to ensure that you get the same ride height side to side as when you started. So the first things that we went ahead and did was remove those, took off the brake calipers, did the tie rod, and from here we're just going to keep going. So we were having some trouble taking the hub off. At first we decided to take the knuckle off and try to do it on the bench, but that didn't end up working out. So we put it back in and reinstalled a wheel and tire so that we could hit the tire with a dead blow and move it around so that it would hopefully break it free, and it ended up doing that pretty well. And that's how we were able to get it out. It didn't really show that in the instructions, so we thought it'd be good to put in to help you guys out. So we got the lower control arm out. After that, we dismounted the differential and we're going to start installing the brackets to lower it. We just made sure that we had good clearance on all of our wires and hoses. We didn't overextend them or anything like that. We were also trying to figure out if we had to take the differential out before we put the crossarmors in, but we did end up having to do that. So the next thing we did was remove the lower control arm bushings to replace them with the aluminum sleeves. It was kind of a pain. We ended up having to cut the middle sleeve out and get the rubber out of the way and use a air chisel to pop them out. When you're doing this, make sure that you have a ball joint press to reinstall the aluminum sleeve, or you'll probably screw it up just to get them square in there. After that, we were ready to reinstall the differential with the drop brackets. And then after that, we were good to put the cross members back in and hook them into the stock locations for the control arms. Alright guys, so after a little hiccup last night, I got it figured out now, but when we were trying to put the lower A-arm back in, it wouldn't clear on the bolt that went right here. It was one of these Torx bit ones, but the relocation bracket, you actually put the bolt through the other way so that you can get to it, because the way that this works, the bushing is wider than the in between that bolt and the other side of the A-arm, so you can't fit it on. So you have to make sure to put the relocation bracket on before. So we were fighting that last night and figured that out. Another thing, we're gonna start getting ready to put the spindles back together. So we got the hubs off. We are doing the 2009 to 2012 brake upgrade, so that comes with a 1-inch bigger rotor and new calipers, and we went with power stops. So we got the drilled and slotted rotors and new calipers and pads. After we figured out how to do the torsion bar relocation brackets, we started installing the A-arms and ran into another problem. The sleeves that go inside the new bushings of the drop bracket were too small for the bolts. So we used a die grinder with some sanding bits to bore them out a little bit to get the bolts to fit through. After that, we just stuffed the bolts through on this side first because that was tighter, and then put the second one in and on to the next step. All right, so now we got the A-arms complete, so we're gonna start putting in the Bumpstop extensions. All you gotta do is raise the control arm up until this little bevel sits flush or centered inside of the Bumpstop, and then lower it down and while holding it in the same spot. Then take a transfer punch, punch that, drill the hole. It's a 5/16, and then tap it with a, I believe it's a 3/8 16 thread, and then just use your Allen bolt, and it'll be right on there. All right, so we got the new brakes put on. Make sure to put Loctite on those bolts back there, those 4, and then tighten down these 6 bolts on the rotor to 88 foot-pounds. For these rotors, they are from a 2009 to 2012, so they are 1 inch bigger in diameter. So we did have to bend the dust shield a little bit to make it so it wouldn't rub on there. And then they also need to take off the metal bracket and put on these plastic clips to be able to attach the ABS or the wheel speed sensor to the spindle itself. Next step is putting it back in. All right, guys, we got the spindle all in. We went ahead and put the shock in, torqued down the lower control arm bolts that go to the drop bracket. We got both the ball joints tightened down. This is a little tight clearance here with the sway bar bracket on it. Comes pretty close to the ABS line. It's full droop right now, so we'll see how close that is at ride height. Might be something we have to figure out in the long run. We're gonna go ahead and get the other side done, and then put the new brake calipers on, and then get the torsion bars back in. All right, guys, so we're running into another hiccup here. The sway bar is coming in contact with the spindle, so we're gonna go ahead and take it out. And we might have to change the location of the lower mount here halfway down or something. Hope that it clears the tie rod, or just switch it over to like a heim joint and something, a rod. We'll figure it out later though. We're just gonna take it out for now and try and get it done. All right, so we're finishing up putting the rest of the brakes on and the last shock. We ran into a problem. We put the dust cover on backwards, so we had to fix that. Just take off the 4 bolts that connect the hub, twist it over, and it was all good. The other thing that seems like it's not clearing right is the shock is coming in contact with the Bumpstop extender. So we might have to tweak that a little bit, just with the Dremel or something on the plastic piece. But other than that, we're gonna throw the tires on and set it on the ground. All right, so we took off the bottom Bumpstop extension just to for clearance on the shock. It was touching here, so we're just gonna, for when we first set it down, we're just gonna take it off. But then we noticed that it is almost touching, and you can make it touch the actual Bumpstop. So I don't know if there's just a flaw in the frame or the brackets or something, but that's another issue we're having. We'll have to figure that one out. Got the wheels and tires off the back. We jacked up the rear and just have it on the trailer mount. First thing we did was take off the shocks and these little brake lines, and then you have to take off just the middle bolt that holds the brake line into the housing. Don't undo these bolts to release the fluid. After that, we just undid the bolts that hold on the shackles, and there was a lot of pressure on them. We had the jack on it, but it was all the way down, just under it, hanging there. So we undid that, did the U-bolts on the other side, and then just undid the front, and then swapped the springs out, put the shocks back in, and then put the extender back on for that brake line, and it'll be good to go. All right, so we got the leaf springs installed. all the way up on the shackles and the U-bolts. They did send us one U-bolt that was the wrong U-bolt, so we went ahead and put a stock one on for now. We'll contact them, have them send us out another one. We put on the spacer for the brake line. All we got left is to put the shocks on, torque everything down, and put the wheels and tires back on. Got one shock all put together, just kind of a pain putting all the end links in. Put some grease on it, helps out a lot. So we'll get these installed, torque everything down, put the wheels and tires on, show you how it looks. All right guys, so we finished up the lift kit on the Colorado. It turned out pretty nice. It's sitting a little high in the front right now because the motor's out. We're gonna be doing an LS swap in the next couple of videos, so we'll keep you posted on that. We still had an issue with the sway bar coming in contact with the spindle, so we just took off the end links for now and let it rest. Hopefully Skyjacker will get back to us on that so we can figure that out. They ended up having quite a bit of ground clearance for what I was expecting out of a drop bracket. It sits pretty nice. Overall, the build quality on the lift kit was pretty good. Customer service, not so much. With Skyjacker, we had a lot of issues with stuff, and it took 4 months to get here, so that was kind of a pain. But overall, the wheels and tires look great. The hubcaps aren't on the front right now, they're on the back, but the brakes look sweet in there. These are the 285 7017 Nitto Ridge Grapplers on some Method 305s. I like the height of it overall. It turned out pretty sweet. These wheels are 0 offset, so they have a good amount of poke, better than I was expecting. But in the rear right now, it's sitting a little wonky. I've heard that it's pretty common with the 355s that the axle isn't centered or the bed isn't, which the bed is not quite right, so I'll end up figuring that out. We did go with the leaf springs, and hopefully that'll make a big change on how much squat it is when you're towing or have something in the back, because the old springs were clapped out and it would squat really bad. So hopefully that helps that. We're going to be finishing everything up here soon and get started on the motor project. We had a lot of problems with the 5-cylinder. We've gone through 2 of them and just a shit show with that. So we're just going to take the easy route and go with 6-liter LQ4 and some current performance parts and throw that in. If you guys like this video, go ahead and give it a like, and please subscribe to the channel. It helps us out, and stay tuned for the next videos.